Welcome into the Stardom Fantasy Football Podcast. This is the second show of Week 5, Friday, October 9th. We're going to be talking news, listener lineup questions, ins and outs for the week, and the second half of weekly matchups. And then, of course, the crowd favorite, starts and sits of the week.
Oh, for sure.
How are you guys doing today?
Oh, I'm just plucking along, ready for the weekend. Got some big plans. The double wedding extravaganza. My two friends are having their wedding on the same day on Saturday, so it's gonna be wild.
It's a wild experience for sure. What about you,
Sure,
Ashton?
sure. I'm just ready for the weekend, man. I'm ready to get some football going.
I hear you. We got we're actually recording this on Thursday night in the middle of the second quarter, or actually the end of the second quarter of the Thursday night game between the Bucs and the Bears. So if any of these players do come up, we'll try to provide our analysis based on the limited amount we've seen them play so far. But let's jump straight into the news.
News and notes.
I think we start off with possibly the most important news of the year. Happy belated birthday to the co-host here, Jacob Stevens.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Sure.
Feeling old, the ripe age of 26.
There you go.
I hate you both so much.
Look, I mean, if we combine our ages, we're come close to your age, okay? So another piece of important news here. We have two games possibly in jeopardy. We got a little bit more clarity on them today. First off, the Tennessee Titans and the Buffalo Bills game has been moved to Tuesday. That is for now. If there are any more positive tests, that game is possibly canceled or forfeited by the Titans. Is still up in the air. There was some questions about maybe they broke protocol and they were practicing, even though the protocol for COVID had forbid them from practicing after they had a bunch of positive tests. But for now, it is still on. And another game has been rescheduled between the Denver Broncos and the New England Patriots. That game was scheduled for Sunday, but has been moved to early Monday night.
That was only after one positive test.
Right.
So I feel like that game is like there's a really good chance that's going to happen. The Titans, on the other hand, they need to get their crap together.
Well, one positive test recently, but you have Cam Newton and now Stefen Gilmore. So you have two positive tests on New England. But they seem to be following guidelines, which is unusual for the Patriots, but apparently they are following guidelines. Those are the two games in jeopardy. So if you do have any of those players, I'd say you could put them in your flex for now, just in case, there are changes there. But yeah, definitely watch the news. Make sure there's no more positive tests. Make sure there's no cancellations of these games. Have backup plans just in case. But let's jump right over to the listener lineup questions we have. We only got two today. We have one that seems pretty easy, and then one that is a little bit harder of a situation. We'll start with the easier one just to kind of ease into it here. But we have 4 wide receivers here, and he needs to choose 3 out of the 4. I'm assuming this is half-point PPR. I don't have it in front of me.
Yeah, it is.
Okay. Half-point PPR. We have Cooper Kupp, Calvin Ridley, Robbie Anderson, and Keenan Allen. Out of the 4, if you had to pick 3, which 3 are you guys choosing?
I think with Anderson, Keenan Allen, he's guaranteed. Calvin Ridley, guaranteed. It really comes down to Robbie Anderson and Cooper Kupp for me on my third one. And Anderson, they're playing the Falcons. I mean, that's free touchdowns, free points. It's just going to be a good time. Does that sound right?
I like that.
Yeah, I'm leaning the same way. Cup just hasn't been doing it for me this year. Keenan Allen has been okay. So I would choose Keenan Allen, Calvin Ridley, and Robbie Anderson on this one.
Yeah, I mean, I think if this is the position you're in, you're
feeling pretty good.
Yeah, you got a good set of four to pick from here. I don't think you can really go wrong. It's probably going to come down to preference, but as we've said a million times, like sitting a wide receiver against the Falcons is just doesn't seem like a good practice to operate your team with. I feel like any competent wide receiver has been feasting on this Falcon secondary. So, and Robbie Anderson has been impressive. So, yeah, I think I'd go the same. I'd go Keenan Allen, Calvin Ridley, and Robbie Anderson. But I mean, if you like Cooper Kupp, he's been great as well. So, I mean, if you'd rather go Cooper Kupp, go Cooper Kupp. But I think we all agree on the top three that we'd take. But again, I think they all probably have solid games.
Yeah, I'd like to have those guys on my team.
Yeah, if that's the hardest choice you have for your lineup, you're doing just fine. This one is a little bit sounds like a worse place to be if you're choosing between these two. Another half-point PPR situation. We have T.Y. Hilton, who's been very, very disappointing, or N'Keal Harry, who also hasn't quite lived up to the expectations. You had to choose between these two abysmal people to choose from. Which one would you choose?
Honestly, in this situation, I think N'Keal Harry has a higher ceiling than T.Y. Hilton at this point. I mean, he's had a few bigger games than T.Y. Hilton. He seems to be getting more receptions. I don't think T.Y.'s had more than 5 receptions in a game. I think his highest was 4, and that was week 1. I would go with N'Keal Harry here. They're playing Denver. Their secondary isn't too impressive. I think he has a better matchup and a higher volume chance, higher opportunity here.
This one's interesting. As one of the TY apologists, that is what I am. I have him on a couple teams, and I'm upset. I thought Grammy's call would help him out. His grandma called him and said, "Hey, you're not playing well." And everyone, I mean, I think they boosted his points after they heard this phone call happen. But he, in fact, did not boost his points. He had it was basically his second worst game on the year. But I do have something interesting. Well, I think if Cam plays, I think it's a different story because he was targeting him a decent amount. But where do you guys think these guys are ranked on the week?
What do you mean?
Do you think they'd be close or like
according to who?
The ECR.
Oh,
Experts consensus ranks.
Yeah. I'd say Ty is probably higher ranked just because the quarterback situation
And they're playing Cleveland.
and the name. You know, like the known commodity is always going to be between when you get down to that like low of rankings probably for wide receivers, you're going to take the more known commodity rather than N'Keal Harry, who hasn't been very good. Plus, he'll probably have a combination of Brian Hoyer and Jared Stidham throwing in the ball. So I'm assuming T.Y.'s probably a decent amount higher.
T.Y.'s ranked at a meh, and then N'Keal's ranked at a
no.
Ty is ranked at 30 on the week, and N'Keal Harry is ranked at 50 on the week.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You don't want,
but we're still having this conversation because of what Ty has not done. It's crazy to think that. But I was listening to something today, and they said, and I think it was in the past 14 or maybe past 16 games that Ty's been in, he hasn't had more than like 80 yards or something, or 80 or 90 yards. He hasn't had more than that, and he hasn't been like in the top 30 or something like that, which is ridiculous. And obviously Jacoby Brissett, you're like, okay, maybe that's the problem. And then you've got Wild Phil, gunslinger. I know their defense has done a lot of work for them and they haven't needed it, but it's just, it's hard that's coming down to this. And I guess you got to go. I mean, they both have decent matchups. It's a coin toss. Yeah.
Like I said,
good luck to you, sir, or madam, whoever is ever dealing with this situation.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think Phillip Rivers has been disappointing as well. So you thought you were getting an upgrade, and it doesn't really seem like it's been that way quite yet. Hopefully this connection works itself out as the year goes on. But if you're choosing between these two, hopefully, maybe you can find someone better to play on the waiver wire.
Hopefully.
Because there's probably a better option on the waiver wire, to be honest with you. I mean, even guys like Hunter Renfrow, I'd probably take over both these guys. If Alshon Jeffrey were to play, I'd probably play him. Greg Ward, I'd probably play him over these two. Like you're like scraping the bottom of the barrel with
It's
these.
bad.
All right, that does it for our listener lineup questions. As always, if you do have any questions and you're struggling to set your lineup, make sure to send them into all of our socials: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. You can message us on YouTube, whatever's easiest for you, and we'll try to answer them on the show, or we'll answer them directly back to you in direct message. So whatever works easier for you, we're happy to help your team out, hopefully win you guys some championships. Let's move on to the ins and outs. Like we said all year, this year's been riddled with injuries, and this week's no exception. We have a long list of injuries to go through. I'll let you guys start us off. What about Jimmy G? What do we expect from Jimmy G?
Jimmy G, I thought this was a little quicker than I anticipated, but he had the ankle injury and he returned to practice, and there is a pretty good chance he could play this week, which was definitely surprising.
What would you say his percentage to play actually is? Like, do you think it's like a 50-50, or do you think it's more doubtful?
I think it's trending more to him playing, but I'd say it's like 60-40. It's not like great odds.
Okay. Same team, Raheem Mostert.
Yeah, so he's coming back from an MCL sprain. He returned to practice. I think he's practiced 2 days in a row, and he's also got a chance to play. That's what Shanahan says. So I think he's gonna. I think he is. I think he's got a higher chance, more like 75% chance of getting out there.
Okay. Michael Thomas, we thought he was going to play last week, didn't return. What about this week?
I think he's definitely back because they got down pretty close that he almost played, and I wasn't high on him because he was coming back so soon, but he's a tough guy and he likes to push through it. I think he's back this week for sure. They
got the bye week next week, so hopefully that doesn't play into Sean Payton's mind. Hopefully they don't sit him with the chance to get 2 weeks rest. What about Drew Lock?
Drew Lock, another guy. He's back at practice in a limited capacity, but what Fangio said, Vic Fangio said, was that it would be kind of a long shot for him to play this week.
Okay. Same team again. What about Philip Lindsay?
Philip Lindsay is slated to play, coming back from his toe injury, that pesky toe.
Do you think he's on any sort of limited snap count? If you have him on your team, are you kind of worried that maybe they keep him on a snap count or no?
It's possible, but I feel like he's missed enough games and probably rested up enough. But Melvin Gordon's going to be leading that backfield. I have no shares of Philip Lindsay this year.
Okay. Same team again. What about Noah Fant?
He's got a mid to high ankle sprain. He suffered last Thursday, so he's only missed 1 week. It's very unlikely for him to play this week.
Okay. Guy who has been on the IR. What about Le'Veon Bell?
Le'Veon Bell is cleared from IR and expected to play this week.
Yayo.
Same team again. I mean, it seems to be a lot of injuries from similar teams.
Yeah.
A lot of quarterbacks as well. Sam Darnold.
Sam Darnold is out with a shoulder injury, so you're going to see Joe Flacco coming in under center.
We
New
love
York Jets.
We love Joe Flacco. AJ Brown.
Dealing with a bone bruise in his knee, slated to return if they have a game. So just watch out for the COVID situation.
Yeah. Alshon Jeffrey, another guy who's been on IR.
He hasn't been practicing, but was limited the day before.
He didn't practice today. He had a limited practice yesterday.
So that just keep an eye on that. Could be 50-50.
Okay. Cam Akers.
Cam Akers dealing with rib injury, expected to play against Washington.
So with Akers, probably going to give it a go. Do you take a chance on this Rams backfield with now you have 3 instead of 2?
Nope. See ya. I don't want any part of it.
What about you, Ashton?
Oh no, I think it just depends on your roster setup. I mean, if you have someone that has a better matchup that you could slip in there, then might want to play that card. But I mean, do what you need to do. I mean, if he could go out there and perform just fine.
Out of the 3, Henderson, Akers, and Malcolm Brown, who do you have most confidence in?
Not Akers. Akers is probably the lowest, just coming back. And so Daryl Henderson, he was okay. So it's like every other week is what McVay is going with them. So yeah, I think Henderson would be the better option.
And last but not least, Julio.
Julio is dealing with a hamstring injury again and is doubtful for this weekend. So hopefully Calvin Ridley can have a bounce back week after his goose egg.
Yep. Yeah, I think this Julio hamstring issue might be a little bit more serious. It could possibly be a multi-week injury. So keep an eye out for, some more news about the Julio injury. But that does it for our ins and outs. Let's jump right into the second half of matchups. We had a show on Tuesday where we went over the first half of matchups. We'll be covering the second half of matchups now. Keep in mind that there are 4 teams on bye, so there's 2 less matchups this week. Let's start off with the LA Rams visiting the Washington football team. The Washington football team has announced that they will be benching their starting quarterback and replacing with Kyle Allen, who got some starts last year with the Panthers. Is this an upgrade or a downgrade? Because I think, Terry McLaurin so far has, been impressive. So are you worried about Terry with the new quarterback, or what's your thoughts on the Washington football team led by Kyle Allen?
Go ahead, Ashton.
So
we always let you start with the Washington football team.
It's one of those things where I'm gonna dive into it a little bit here. I kind of feel for Dwayne Haskins in this situation. I feel like he was just kind of set up for failure here. He wasn't put in a good situation when he had to start as QB1, and he was playing with basically zero support around him. I think they brought in Kyle Allen because they expected him to take over the position at some point, and now here's the opportunity. I mean, pulling Dwayne Haskins after a pretty good performance against a tough Ravens defense.
Right.
When they had already brought it to the table, look, you need to step it up or you're going to get benched. And then he delivers what he was supposed to. They didn't get the win, but he performed pretty well. And he still gets pulled. But we'll see. I mean, Kyle Allen isn't the most accurate quarterback out there. He was there.
Very correct.
he was there in Carolina when he was able to have a good connection with DJ Moore.
CMC, man.
I'm
expecting
master. I'm expecting this to benefit Antonio Gibson more. I think Antonio Gibson's going to get more looks in the passing game with Kyle Allen under center. But outside of that, I don't know. I have to wait and see how he performs, and it could take a week or two before I even feel comfortable saying, "Oh, I'd consider anyone else." So I'm interested to see how he connects with Terry McLaurin in this matchup. It's a tough matchup, but we'll see how it goes. I'm not thrilled about it.
Fair. Yeah, I mean, I don't have anything really to add on the Washington side, except for I do think Gibson gets a bump up this week. I don't know how long that connection is going to be for Terry, but Kyle Allen did support DJ Moore decently last year. So
Ron Rivera,
fine.
Yeah, Ron Rivera likes him because obviously
he knows their system too.
He knows their system. He's more experienced, and I think he's a better leader under center than Dwayne Haskins is from what I understand. And the notes that I read today were basically saying that it wasn't just Dwayne Haskins' performance on the field. It was his behavior and his locker room presence that were causing issues, specifically with his issues in practice. So I think some maturity issues there that were causing concern, and that's why they pulled him.
But over on the Rams side here, we just talked about the running back situation. It's terrifying. Washington's defense hasn't been too. I mean, they haven't been awful against the run. But I'm not taking that gamble if I can avoid it on the 3 there. But like we said, Henderson's probably the lead guy there. I think I think Woods and Cup are going to be fine starts. And a lot of people are saying, no, Higbeast is going to do pretty well. I think Washington struggles with the tight end position. Are you guys looking to possibly stream Jared Goff this week?
Yeah, that was my question. He's currently quarterback 14 on the year. He's had 2 really good weeks and 2 really bad weeks. And it's actually weird because he's like one of the only quarterbacks to have a bad week against the Cowboys, as well as the Giants, which is, it seems like bad defenses are the ones he struggles with. Maybe it's just game script, but for me, I think Jared Goff is a streamable option for you. If you're one of those guys who had one of those quarterbacks on bye, Jared Goff could be worth a look. Not sure what his availability is. It looks like on ESPN he's rostered in about 50% of leagues. So he might be someone on your waiver wire that you can pick up and play for a week.
Very nice.
Not a bad matchup for him.
Let's jump into the next matchup, though. We have the Miami Dolphins versus the San Francisco 49ers. On the 49ers side, like we said in the ins and outs, we're not sure about the quarterback situation as well as the running back situation. We have probably 50-50 up in the air options with whether it be Jimmy G or either Nick Mullins. We don't know what quarterback.
Who's the other guy? Is it Young?
CJ Beathard.
Oh, Beathard's there.
So we're not sure which quarterback we're going to get, come Sunday. I'm not sure though that do you want to start a wide receiver here? Like Brandon Ayuk has looked pretty good. Debo's off to a little bit of a slow start coming off injury, but other than Kittle, are you really relying on a receiving option?
Jerick McKinnon. Obviously he's a running back, but he's been great, and I think if Mostert's back, I don't know if it's going to be limited or not, but McKinnon has been outstanding. Ayuk hasn't gotten the volume that you want to see, but also
he might see more of it after his performance last week.
Yeah, I mean, it's possible. He did have but that was on a run, that touchdown when he jumped over that guy, which was pretty awesome. But you're playing Miami, so
the best play of the week, I think.
It probably, but Miami, their secondary's getting better and more healthy, so it's not like a super great matchup, I wouldn't say, especially if you don't have your starting QB. So I think, like you said, I think McKinnon and Kittle are maybe Debo. I think he's going to lead the way on that side, but they probably kind of eased him back into it last week.
So let me ask you a question, Ashton. If Mostert is a go and you got McKinnon and McKinnon's been producing for you, are you taking him a step back, or are you still full confidence with Jerick McKinnon?
I'm approaching it more of a committee at this point, and until I think they're going to roll with a hot hand. And right now, I mean, obviously the hot hand is McKinnon. So I think they're going to subtly work Mostert back in, but I don't expect to be a full-blown switch.
Okay. Let's jump over to the Miami side of the ball. We've had Ryan Fitzpatrick, who the Dolphins came out and announced he'll still be the starting quarterback in Week 5.
Yeah, because he's balling out.
I didn't know that they were considering Tua coming in yet. So I think it was a surprise.
The interceptions, I think, were because he's having like the game. It doesn't look that bad for us. Like we're looking at it fantasy wise, but
right.
But some of those picks are like changing the game script, and they're kind of
he had 3 interceptions week 1 and then 2 interceptions last week, but nothing week 2 or 3. So
yeah, I mean, he's also not throwing a crazy amount of yards either. Like, sure, he's getting it done for some fantasy games, but in terms of like the yardage he's putting out, he has 2 games under 200 yards, which for an NFL quarterback is not good. So I think the fact that they came out and said that he's the starting quarterback gives you concern that they are considering a change. So I think you have to be a little bit worried about streaming Fitz, and that there is always that possibility that they'll do like a mid-game change over to Tua, like maybe at halftime if he were to throw picks in the first half. So for him, I think with that being said, I think he's out of the streaming category for myself. And this San Francisco defense is tough. So what about
on that note, he over the past 3 weeks, he's put over 20 points each week. So, I mean, if desperate times, desperate measures. I mean, I think if you're in the hunt for a streaming option and he's available, it might be a decent streaming option.
Fair enough. Let's jump into the other options there. Miami. Myles Gaskin is probably a guy that, you can consider as a flex just because of the volume that he does.
The volume's there, but
in terms of production, he hasn't been very efficient. Do you take the volume over the efficiency, or, what are you looking at with Myles Gaskin? What do you consider him at this point?
I don't know if the skill levels out with the opportunity.
And definitely not this matchup. The 49ers are the number 2 best running defense in the league. So I mean, I'd say pivot if you can.
You can't hand me the ball 20 times a game and expect me to perform well. You know what I mean? I think you have to have a certain level of skills to be, dependent as an RB1 and RB2.
I think it's just crazy that they just threw Matt Breida to like the curb after he was like somewhat decent in San Francisco.
Yeah.
But so outside of Devontae Parker, are you guys starting Gesicki this week?
I think given the tight end landscape, like Gesicki's always someone that you consider. The talent's there, the athleticism's there. So he has to be a guy that you're considering just based on what you have at tight end. I'd say the majority of people don't roster 2 tight ends. So you're kind of just playing, the game of who has the best matchup. So I mean, he's always in consideration. I would always consider him as a back end tight end 1 here though. So he's more of a risky option, but unless you have a better option, he's probably someone that's going to be started in most leagues.
Who would you rather have, Eric Ebron or Gesicki
this week?
I think I'd rather have
playing again.
I'd rather have Ebron this week, but I'd rather have Gesicki for the season.
Agreed.
The Steelers have the Eagles, which is a lot easier of a matchup. So I think I'd take Ebron this week with the hope
for sure
that he finds end zone.
I concur.
Let's jump over to the next game. We have the New York Giants visiting the Dallas Cowboys. Interdivisional matchup in the worst division in the NFL, though. We have NFC East battle, if you can call it that. But we have on the Giants side of the ball, they've been struggling on offense to say the least. What are y'all's thoughts? I mean, this is another team
is this a get right game for the Giants against the abysmal Dallas defense? Am I saying that out loud?
Do I need to call you guys after this game's over to just make sure you guys are all okay?
I don't think so.
Yeah, I think it's going to be an easy dub. Easy dub coming
for the Giants.
No. But on that note, like what you're saying, I don't really want any part of that running back room. Freeman has been kind of leading the charge. Did he have a touchdown last week?
I don't remember. I'm looking up his
I can't remember.
his
Go look that up
stats
for
right
me. But Evan Ingram, or maybe it was Evan Ingram that had a touchdown. I think he did. But I don't really want any of those running backs. You could probably stream Daniel Jones, and Darius Slayton could have a good chance here.
Yep.
Him and Golden Tate, honestly. But Slayton and Ingram, I think, could be okay this week.
Yeah, I think Slayton and Ingram. Slayton, first and foremost, should be a great play this week. Should be someone that you can slot. He hasn't been impressive this year, but against this matchup, he should be someone you can slot in and enjoy his points that he gives you, as well as Evan Ingram. Again, someone who's been disappointing. But this whole Giants offense has been disappointing. So this is probably a week that you can start your Giants receiving options, as well as streaming Daniel Jones, who has been nothing but bad. This should be a good matchup for Daniel Jones to exploit. Ashton, on the Dallas side, we talk Dallas offense every week. Is there anybody on the Dallas side you don't start in this matchup? Another easy matchup for the Cowboys. They should rack up the yards. They haven't been struggling on offense, I can tell you that, but they have been struggling on defense. So on the Dallas side, is there anybody that you're not starting?
I think my least favorite receiver in this situation is going to be Gallup. I mean, CeeDee Lamb has stepped up and clearly taken over as wide receiver 2. I'm a huge fan of CeeDee Lamb right now. I liked him coming into the season. I think he's looks terrific and has an awesome connection with Dak. I mean, they're passing the ball a ton. They have Cooper looked great last week. Lamb looked great. Lamb put up over 22 points. I mean, Gallup,
on
I think
that
Gallup
walk-in touchdown.
Yeah, Gallup takes a back seat for me, and I'm a little concerned about Schultz this week too, but he could surprise me and be significant. So, but I mean, obviously you're going to start Dak, you're going to start Zeke,
Right.
you're going to start
Yeah.
Cooper. I think Lamb's a solid start this week.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think Gallup, I think you got to kind of wait and see some consistency. What we're seeing is the slot is treating CeeDee Lamb a lot better than deep ball, big plays to Gallup. It's just not that the connection hasn't been as good as it was last year. And I think that's because CeeDee Lamb is just able to take so many targets and do something with it. I think Schultz is okay this week. He's not going to be anything special, but Gallup is definitely my biggest concern on the Dallas side of the ball.
Right. All right, let's jump into the next matchup. We have the Denver Broncos versus the New England Patriots. This is the game that was rescheduled to Monday nights. I think the possibility that Cam plays is very, very doubtful. Just with the
think that you don't think extending the day, he just needs 2 negative tests.
No.
He's asymptomatic as of Monday. He needs
Right.
2 negative tests, and then he's in.
Yeah, I don't have much.
I think wild Bill Belichick, he made the call. He's like, look, let's do this thing Monday. I'm going to have Cam in. It's going to be great for the TV. We're going to get so many views. It's going to be awesome. And then that's what happened. You know, he got his way. He said, don't make me go deflate any more footballs. This is what make it on Monday. And that's what happened.
Yeah, I might take it still. Cam Newton should miss this game. I don't expect him to play. But let's just go with the more probable situation here, in that you're going to have, it hasn't been announced who the starting quarterback will be yet. They made the change from Brian Hoyer to start the game to Jarrett Stidham to end the game. But I mean, obviously you're not screaming either of those guys, but in terms of the receiving options with Julian Edelman and N'Keal Harry, does one benefit the two better than the other, or is it really just a crappy situation either way?
I think it's just a crappy situation, man. Edelman, I think you can start Edelman. Ooh, it's still just not a great matchup, but look at the running back room as well. I think people are going to be high on Damian Harris after the performance he had last week, but I wouldn't get too excited, and we might talk about that later.
Ashton, are you okay with any of these running backs on the New England side? Between Burkhead, James White, and Damian Harris? Is there one you prefer, I guess, is the first question.
No, not entirely. I mean, Burkhead has impressed me a lot with his bursts this year. I mean, he's a high energy runner. He's just a little bulldog, man, but he's not getting the volume and the consistency that I would want. And I don't think anyone in this New England backfield is. So, I mean, if you're desperate and need to find a streamer for this week, I don't know. It's tough to say. Burkhead might have a decent week against Denver, but you can't guarantee any consistency. I don't know. I can see Bill Belichick coming in there and just switching it up. So he never does the expected thing. So I don't know. I would be hesitant to play any backfield from New England right now.
I think the PPR and the half PPR will benefit James White just from that aspect, because he did have 7 receptions last week for 38 yards, and he had 3 carries for 21 yards on top of that.
Yeah, I don't know if I agree, though. I know that you guys might not be as high on Damian Harris, but the fact that he came off IR in the first week, they gave him, the keys to the kingdom in the backfield, and he led the backfield with 17 carries and made the most of it. Like, it seems like Bill Belichick trusts Damian Harris, and he thinks he's the best running back they got. So I think Damian Harris is a fine flex play this week. I think he's the clear-cut leader in this backfield over Burkhead and James White. Let's jump over to the Denver side. Again, another quarterback situation that's not clear. We don't know if we're going to see Drew Lock or another game from Rippon. But either way, let's talk about some of the other options. We should see Philip Lindsay returning. Is he a flex consideration for you this week?
Nope.
I
Not against
think-
the number 3 ranked or the number 6 ranked running back defense in the league. No, thank you.
I think they're going to utilize him in the passing game.
But how
I
if his
think
toe
that-
hurts?
He's slated to come back. I mean, if he comes back, they're going to use him. They're not going to let him sit on the sideline. So
That's fair. I mean, but does that, if you're Jacob, you're saying that, that the matchup scares you, but I mean, what if you're a Melvin Gordon owner? Like he's been impressive. He's the number 10 running back on the year right now. Are you worried about the matchup here? Are you worried about Philip Lindsay coming back and taking away some touches?
I mean, I think what I'm thinking, I think Lindsay would probably be eased back into it more than anything, and I think Melvin Gordon is just going to stay the lead back. He's had almost 20 touches in every single game, and I don't think that's going to change. I think he's gotten better as the season's gone on, and he got obviously he played the Jets last week, had 2 touchdowns. I think he's just I'm not worried about Melvin Gordon. I just don't. I need to see something from Philip Lindsay, him getting back in the offense before I can just go put him out there.
Gotcha. And what about the receiving options? Is there any are the receiving options that you're considering in this option in this game for Denver?
I actually think Patrick could be a decent play this week.
He liked them last week.
They seemed to give him a few targets last week, and he balled out. I mean, he was pretty impressive. So I think you could see an increase with that. Jerry Jeudy did have
Fantastic touchdown.
Yeah, it was pretty solid. So,
but after that, he didn't do anything else.
Yeah, it was.
You guys feel like that? Like
I felt like he was getting focused. I felt like that the Jets were trying to take out Jeudy. It seemed like they were really focusing on game planning around him. So
when have the Jets ever been able to do anything?
But it was also the Jets. I mean, now they're playing New England. So
look, he only had 4 targets.
I hear you, but I mean, look at the targets for the rest of the season though. 8, 7, 9. Like that's the targets you want to see for someone that you're considering as a wide receiver for.
Right, but that was with Drew Lock. That's what I'm saying. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
I think Rippon is like in Tim Patrick, and he had 7 targets. But who knows?
Well, Rippon came in on his first NFL start, got 3 interceptions, and still got a W. So
yeah, I mean,
that's pretty impressive.
Is that a compliment to Rippon, or is that a compliment to how bad the Jets are?
Look, you take it how you want to, but
I hate the Jets.
He's going in this game with a mixture of confidence and concern. So
fair enough. All right, let's jump into the next game. We have the Colts versus the Browns. The Browns are coming off a crazy offensive performance, so they almost put up 50 points. OBJ just went wild. Do y'all see that OBJ game as an outlier, or do you see it as, this is back to the old OBJ of old with the Giants, where he was a top 5 wide receiver? Or do you think he's still kind of what we saw last year, where he'll have his boom games, but for the most part, he'll be disappointing?
Yeah, he just had his biggest game of the year.
Oh, for sure. Like that's a hard game to beat.
He's not going to get anywhere close to that.
Yeah, I think they're heading in the right direction, but that's probably peak season for OBJ.
They're run heavy, man, and it works for them. And even D'Ernest Johnson come in there and just ran all over the place. But this week, it's not an easy matchup, man. The Colts defense is legit. So I mean, I don't know how well they're going to be able to run it. They might be trying to do some more trick plays, so maybe that'll work out for them. But I don't see this being a high scoring game. OBJ is still terrifying. I had a couple people offering him up to me after his big game, and I couldn't pull the trigger. But I mean, what are your expectations for Kareem Hunt as he leads this backfield against a really good run defense? Are you? I mean, I think you're starting them. I think you have to, but like, what are your expectations on that?
Hope for the best, but expect the worst.
Well, I guess it's kind of what's your expectations for both, like between Dearness Johnson and Kareem Hunt. I think, what we saw from Dearness Johnson, I think was more a benefit of playing the Cowboys than it was Dearness Johnson as a running back.
Right.
Say that again.
I'll never repeat that.
Just keep going. Just keep going.
But no, even though this is a tough match, I think Kareem Hunt's going to take obviously the bulk of the work here. It should be a fine play. Whereas Dearness Johnson, I'm very worried about. I know he's someone that you picked up on the waiver wire and we're excited about, but this is a tough matchup.
We warned you. We told you about these matchups.
Yep.
And Kareem Hunt can take the ball all 3 downs. Like, it's not like it's not like Johnson's going to come in for receiving,
Right.
Like Kareem Hunt can do that, and he's really good at it. So,
yeah, I think the only worry there is, is Kareem Hunt 100% right now. I know he was coming back from that groin injury, so it's just, you never know. It might be, they try to take some of that workload away from him and give Dearness Johnson some of those carries, but we'll have to see. This will be the first game that we actually get to see this in action, so we'll have a little bit more clarity after this week. What about Jarvis Landry? I mean, he's been disappointed for the most part. He had a passing touchdown last week to OBJ.
Yeah, he did.
But at this point, is he he's probably on most rosters, but is he someone that you're still considering as a flex option, or is he probably on your bench for now?
I'd say he's on my bench until he just. But it's the same thing like this. Under Kevin Stefanski, like, they want to run the ball. It's not going to be high volume. It's going to be some of those weeks where they pop off, have a touchdown or two, or, just launches a touchdown to Odell. It's just not, I don't think there's going to be any consistency there. And even OBJ came out and said, yeah, my stats aren't going to be great this year, but I don't think they care, because if they're playing well, they're 3-1, I think. And that's like the best start in like forever. So I'd have to see more from Landry. He's not what he was last year, and I don't think the offense is either.
I think they're going to continue to keep looking, but how successful are they going to be with it? I don't know.
Right.
It's hard to tell. I was happy to see both of them, Landry and OBJ, do better than they've been doing in a long time this past week. But it's a tough matchup against the Colts, and I don't necessarily think they're going to continue to repeat that each week. So I think it's going to be kind of a boom or bust situation each week.
Landry has broken 50 yards one time this year.
Yeah, that's pretty bad.
That was the first game of the season.
It's pretty bad.
All right, let's jump into the next matchup. We have the Minnesota Vikings versus the Seattle Seahawks. Let's start on the Vikings side of the ball. This is another secondary that's been exploitable for the Seahawks. Is this a possible Kirk Cousins week? Are we expecting Justin Jefferson to continue his dominance that we've seen the last 2 weeks? What are our expectations for some of these fantasy options for the Vikings?
I think this is going to be a really good matchup for Minnesota's passing game. Seattle has struggled recently, and Jefferson showed up last week, and I think they're
despite my sit of the week.
So I expect them to carry that forward and continue to utilize him as much as possible. And with that attention that he got last week and the success that he had, he's going to draw more attention from the defense this week, which could open up more opportunity for Thielen as well. So it could be a pretty good passing game. But I've said this before with Minnesota, and they failed me. So fingers crossed I'm not wrong this week.
Yeah, I think it's going to go both ways. I think it's going to be a high passing. It should be. We'll see. I think it could be just a high passing affair with both defenses just struggling right now. Obviously, Kirk Cousins, I think he's a great start this week. Seattle has been atrocious, especially giving up the points to QBs. But I mean, Thielen, Jefferson, and Dalvin Cook. Obviously, I don't know if I want any of the tight end pieces on Minnesota's side, but for Seattle, freaking DK Metcalf. Gosh, that guy's a stud. What else do you guys think about their side?
My only thing about just not to get away from Cousins real quick, you guys. I mean, on paper, this looks like he's a very good streamer this week, but the only thing I can say against him is he has struggled in the past on prime time. This is the Sunday night game, so that's my only concern is maybe that spotlight gets to him. But yeah,
It's
so
in his eyes.
on the Seattle side, I think everybody should be a go. Like, I think even Greg Olsen is someone that you could consider to be in that tight end one conversation this week. And then everybody else on that team has just been a super producer. DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, Chris Carson. All of them have been great, so there's no way you're sitting them in this matchup.
What's the over/under on that game? It's got to be 50, right?
Oh, yeah, it has to be 50 plus for sure. Let's jump into the last matchup we do have. We have the LA Chargers versus the New Orleans Saints. What side of the ball do you guys want to start on? What team should we go over first?
Let's go with the Chargers.
All right, I'll let you. You're happy to jump in, so I'll let you lead
you
the
tell
way.
us. No, you tell us about the running back there, Stefen. I want to know how that situation.
Yeah.
Sure, I'm happy to. Yeah, so like we talked about it earlier in the week. Austin Eckler is out, especially for this game. Jacob's a little bit more optimistic about his timetable to return, but I still think Austin Eckler should be missing anywhere in the range from 4 to 6 weeks. They're currently searching for a second opinion to hopefully get him back a little bit sooner. But at this point, he should be missing extended time. Joshua Kelly, he should be the leader in this backfield. Justin Jackson hasn't got a lot of opportunity because they like what they see with Joshua Kelly. So I expect him to lead the backfield, especially as a rusher. He's been decent as a receiving back, but I think we have a little bit more history and a little bit more actual games, and we've seen more production out of Justin Jackson as a receiving back. So we don't know what that split's going to look like at this point, but I still do expect Joshua Kelly to lead that backfield, and it should be more of a 60-40, 70-30 kind of split. So I think Joshua Kelly, especially when Eckler's out, should be a super reliable fantasy option somewhere in that running back 2 to 3 range over the next 4 to 6 weeks.
Okay.
You say so?
Okay.
I'm just kidding.
No, we had a conversation before the show about Joshua Kelly versus Antonio Gibson, but you put up some good points there, Stefen. I wanted to go into the Justin Herbert discussion. How do you guys feel about him being nominated as the QB1 for the rest of the season?
I think that was if he didn't,
big shocker, right?
Yeah. I mean.
Yeah.
I told you I told you Tyrod was never going to be 100% again. Always about 99.
I know. They make it seem like it's such a breaking news story, like no one saw this coming, but it is what it is. He has been performing well. He is the youngest starting quarterback in the league right now. Probably. I think he's 22 years old. So I mean, he looks good. He's on a good path right now. If you are in a streaming position where you need a QB, he's not a bad pickup either. How you guys feel about passing game, his targets this week? We kind of went over Keenan Allen a little bit earlier, but
yeah, Keenan Allen,
he's always a play.
Yeah. He's amazing. But the Saints defense, dude, like they have not been great.
No, they're not what they were expected to be this year.
And they're just one slot down from they're one slot worse or better than the Cowboys against QBs. So that should say something.
Good position to be in.
But I mean, QB. I think you could play. I mean, you can play Herbert if you're one of those guys, like you don't know if your team's going to be playing, their game's going to be happening this week.
Like if you have Joshua Allen this week. And
yeah, if you have Josh Allen like you, and you had to decide if you wanted to play Tom Brady or hope for the best,
right?
So we'll hope you made the right decision there. But no, Keenan Allen, I think Mike Williams might be making his way back. I wouldn't bank on that. Just starting him in general, I'm just not excited about it yet. I need to see what this connection looks like because obviously Tyrod liked Mike Williams, but Hunter Henry, I think he'll be fine. What do you guys think between Mike Williams and Hunter Henry? You got anything else to add to that?
Yeah, I think Hunter Henry's looked good so far since Justin Herbert's taken over that quarterback position. So I think Hunter Henry is someone you can rely on until he shows you otherwise. Yeah, and
I got a hot stat.
Sure.
The Saints are the 31st worst against the tight end.
Oh, it's not bad.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Second to last, yeah. At least they're not the worst. But yeah, I agree with the Mike Williams thing. Like, I think you have to. I don't think you have enough faith in Mike Williams to just throw him right in there. I think the only possible consideration you make is if you're in a standard league, he is one of those home run hitters that can, get you a deep touchdown. But in PPR and half point PPR formats, he is a very, very risky start. What about on the New Orleans side of the ball, though? We said we're expecting to get Mike Thomas back. So what do you expect, any of those other wide receivers to even be relevant now? Like Traquan Smith has looked decent with Michael Thomas being out, but Emmanuel
Did he have a good
Sanders
week last week or no?
Yeah, he got a touchdown, didn't he?
Yep. Yeah, you got him in the end zone. But
19 points last week.
yeah, so I mean,
Wow.
two out of the 3 games that Michael Thomas has
2
been out,
touchdowns.
Traquan Smith has been good. So do you think this is just a result of Michael Thomas missing, or do you think Traquan Smith at least deserves a roster spot for right now?
I mean, I think he's surpassing the Sandy Man for sure. I think he's definitely got more value than him. And I think Michael Thomas isn't going to come out and just catch like 10 catch. I don't think he's going to make 10 catches this week. I think I don't think he's going to be limited per se, but I think he's going to be part decoy. I just don't think he's going to make as many of those plays that we're used to seeing him do, as he's just kind of easing back in. He's missed, I guess, 3 games now. But like, yeah, I mean, I don't know if I want any part of Traquan Smith this week, though.
Do y'all
Against
think
the
that
Chargers defense?
Do y'all think that Michael Thomas's return brings back the Drew Brees of old? Because he has not been performing well at all this season. I mean, he's only had 1 game this season was over 16 points.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, this is arguably the best wide receiver in the NFL that he's down. And, having to rely on a combination of Traquan Smith, Emmanuel Sanders, who has not looked good, and Jared Cook, who also has not looked good. I mean, that's a hard group to throw the ball to and be successful. So I think obviously Michael Thomas boosts.
Aaron Rodgers succeeds without big name targets.
Well, Aaron Rodgers is
a different breed,
a lot younger and a lot better than Drew Brees right now.
Well, I'm just saying.
We definitely did talk about the concerns of Drew Brees, this in general, but I think Michael Thomas being out was a huge factor to that. But he did have some bad throws to these guys. They weren't. I mean, they're not great, but he overthrew Jared Cook a few times. We've seen that happen quite a bit, but Michael Thomas can catch everything, and he's fantastic. I think they'll be just fine.
What about Latavius Murray? He came in last week, and it seems like he's getting carry. He's getting opportunities. They're not relying on Alvin Kamara to carry the ball a million times a game. So Latavius Murray came in and vultured away 2 touchdowns. Is he someone that is a flex consideration, or is that an outlier game where he'll find the end zone every now and again just because they are going to give him carries?
Because he got a decent workload this past week, I think New Orleans is looking at the long game, right? I don't think they're going to just keep pumping the ball to Kareem Hunt every single game. I mean, not Kareem Hunt. Alvin Kamara every single game and just overloading his plate each week. Right. I mean, because halfway through the season, he's going to be just drained. And then you're going to look at a higher risk of injury, a higher risk of timeout, and then you guys are screwed for the rest of the season. So I think they're going to work in and out Latavius Murray into the game script. And I kind of see that rotating like maybe every other week or 2. Right. So I look for Latavius Murray to not get as many looks. He might still get some decent workload, but I don't think it's going to be as heavy as it was this week. But I mean, they're going to be run heavy until Michael Thomas is fully implemented back into the gameplay. So,
Yep.
And my concern with that, even when Michael Thomas comes back in, I still need to see Drew Brees perform better. And yes, he's been missing essentially the number one receiver in the game. But to me, that's not enough. I think Drew Brees still needs to step it up a notch. And even with that, Michael Thomas is still a health risk right now. So while he's going to be clear to play, he's still prone to re-injury. So it's just a little bit concerning to me right now.
Yeah, but with that being said, there's no way you set Michael Thomas if he plays,
No,
right?
you're going to play him
no
because
way.
he has the highest ceiling available right now. I mean, if he comes in and Drew Brees has a connection with him, then it's going to be lights out. But there are risks in it, and there is
Sure.
concern in it as well.
Sure.
But
All
I think
right.
they're going to rely heavy on the run game too. So
Yep. That wraps it up for our week 5 matchups. Let's go ahead and jump right into the starts and sits of the week. For me, this is the most exciting part of the show. So we will
he
let.
tells us every week.
It is. I mean, I look forward to it. It's the last part of the podcast every single week, and it's the best part. So, Jacob, start us off with your quarterback start of the week.
We've already talked about him just a little bit earlier here tonight. It is Kirk Cousins going up against the Seahawks. I think what we're seeing is that the Seahawks defense sucks. And I think the Cousins, like the problem is the team runs the ball a lot. But I think the connection with Justin Jefferson comboed with this really bad defense, I think he's going to be a fine start this week.
But a fine start isn't a start of the week.
He's my fine start of
Start
the
of the
week.
week.
Thank you.
Ashton, who you got as your start of the week?
Oh man, I got Teddy Bridgewater
Oh, I like that one.
playing against Atlanta. I mean, I could go into more detail if you wanted to, but
It's
he's just,
like this.
he's playing against
Nope.
Atlanta.
That's plenty.
If you
No,
need more
I mean-
analysis, listen to every other podcast episode we do.
Atlanta has allowed 4 touchdowns to QBs in every single game this season. So seeing
good.
Teddy throwing 4 touchdowns this week wouldn't surprise me. He got 3 last week against the Cardinals. So I expect a pretty good game out of old Teddy B this week.
Yeah, DJ Moore was almost my wide receiver start of the week. If there wasn't my actual wide receiver start of the week, it would have been DJ Moore.
Yep.
My quarterback start of the week is Deshaun Watson versus the Jacksonville Jaguars. Watson has not been the quarterback that you drafted him to be, and he's yet to give you that blow up game, and is yet to finish inside the top 10 for quarterbacks, which is definitely not what you expected. However, on the opposite side of the ball, the Jacksonville Jaguars have given up 2 top 10 performances to the quarterbacks, and that was to Ryan Tannehill and Fitzmagic. So I think we can all agree that Deshaun Watson is better than both of those guys. And I think the Bill O'Brien news, Bill O'Brien being out of Houston, is going to be the spark that Deshaun Watson and this offense need to get it going. So look for Deshaun Watson to lead the Houston Texans to the first W and his first top 10 finish.
Very nice.
All right, let's move on to the running back starts of the week. Ashton, I'll let you lead us off. Who's your running back start of the week?
Antonio Gibson
No.
playing against the Rams. He's getting into a good rhythm. We talked about it before the show. I know you're not a fan of the Washington football team. Most people aren't these days, but
Correct.
I think he's getting in a rhythm. He's getting a good, healthy workload right now, especially in the receiving game. And with Kyle Allen coming in under center, I only think that's going to increase his opportunity there, especially for looks in the passing game. So I think this is just increasing his ceiling, his opportunity, and I think he's definitely worth a start, especially now with Kyle Allen in.
Nice. Jacob, who you got?
I have the waiver wire hero of the land, Mike Davis, and he is also playing against the Falcons.
Oh, There it is. That's how it is.
It is.
Forgot about that. Every time we talk about the Falcons, there's nothing more to be said.
Falcons and Steelers.
All right. I have a little bit of combo pack. It's dependent on the injury news.
That doesn't sound decisive. I don't know if we can allow it.
If you have Jerick McKinnon or you have Raheem Mostert, they should be in your lineups. Raheem Mostert should be a smash if he plays, and Jerick McKinnon should still be great even if Raheem Mostert plays. So if you have either one, they are my start of the week versus Miami. A crazy stat that I saw. We knew the San Francisco backfield was good. We knew that they just seem to always be good in fantasy. We just never know which one it's going to be. But to give you guys a little stat, a San Francisco running back has finished inside the top 15 for running backs every week so far through 4 weeks. Jeff Wilson has been one of those backs. Just enough.
Jeff.
But with Jimmy G's status still in question, and the 7th worst run defense in Miami, I expect a big game on the ground for San Francisco. So expect the combination of Raheem Mostert and Jerick McKinnon to be a great play this week.
Very
All
nice.
right. Wide receiver start of the week. We will continue our carousel of people to start it off, and I'll go back to back here. We said it earlier. DK Metcalf has been just dominant to start the year.
Unreal.
So DK Metcalf versus what's been a very poor defense from the Minnesota Vikings is my start of the week. For DK Metcalf, he already has 403 yards and 3 touchdowns on the season, averaging over 100 yards a game. That's very, very good.
It's pretty good.
So, I mean, there's nothing more to say, but look for him just to continue on the streak that he's been on and feast against this Minnesota secondary. I don't care who jumps in, but who's up next?
I got it.
Okay.
Oh,
Oh God.
Easy.
no.
Let's do it at the same time.
Wait.
You guys want to go?
1, 2, 3. Deontay Johnson. So I've got Deontay Johnson coming out of concussion protocol. He was going to play. There was a good chance he was going to play last week. I think he cleared it, or he was close, but the game got postponed, and he's back and he's ready to go. There's really nothing holding him back. They're playing the Philadelphia Eagles, have the 21st ranked wide receiver defense in the league. Not good. Back half is what I'd call that. And Darius Slay I think he got a little banged up last week, and I think he'd be on Juju more than being on Deontay Johnson. So I think that'll draw some attention away. And I think the Steelers are going to have a field day, and Deontay Johnson's going to be the star there. The star there.
I got Justin Jefferson
Hey-o.
playing against Seattle. He's increasingly getting more and more attention from Kirk Cousins. They're playing against Seattle, who's given up the most fantasy points to opposing wide receivers this season. Clearly struggling in the secondary. And
Is Jamal Adams still out too?
Yes.
yeah,
Good. That's great.
so I expect this to be a good showing for Justin Jefferson.
I think this is going to be my my upset of the week. I think the Vikings are going to beat the Seahawks.
Whoa.
This was a bold take, bud. Just calm down.
You heard it. You heard it first.
Yeah, I mean, the Justin Jefferson news just it gets on my soul. I mean, but before the season, I was the one saying Justin Jefferson's going to be a beast. I drafted him in like every league and then gave up on him in every league after 2 weeks. And as soon as I gave up on him,
Rookie mistake.
here
Yeah,
he
You
goes.
never give up
I
on
literally-
your draft picks. You hold them till the end.
I called you guys. I remember I was walking from the park and I called you guys and I was like, look, he's not performing. I'm not getting what I need. Ron John's on the table. Should I take him? And you're like, yeah. And I did it. And I dropped him. And then that week he went off.
Yeah.
Good.
All right.
This is how fantasy works, my friends.
All right. Let's move on to the tight ends. Jacob, it's back to you. Tight end start of the week. Who you got?
Jonnu Smith. He is coming in hot. The problem here, Ashton pointed out to me and was criticizing me, I think.
There's no judgment or criticism.
This game
ever
might
from
get
me
this
to you.
game has this game has been pushed back. But surprisingly, the Buffalo Bills, I mean, their defense has just kind of struggled in the air this year. And Corey Davis is on. He caught the COVID, and so he is on the COVID IR. So he is out. So it will be Jonnu Smith basically and AJ Brown. And the Buffalo Bills are the 27th worst defense against the tight end, which I thought was kind of crazy. They've given up two top 4 performances in the last 3 weeks, and another top 12. So it's go time. And Jonnu Smith has been great all year. I just wanted to add that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Ashton, who you got?
I got Eric Ebron versus Philly. Philly has struggled tremendously against tight ends so far this season. I know Ebron had 5 catches for 52 yards and a touchdown on 7 targets in week 3 against Houston. I think he's going to carry that over and continue to see some good looks from old Ben. So I think he's going to have a pretty good matchup against Philly this week. So hopefully he can reel some in, and probably a little bit touchdown dependent, but I think he has a good shot getting in the end zone.
I like that. My tight end start of the week is Tyler Higbee versus the Washington football team. Other than the 3 touchdown performance we got from Higbee back in week 2, he's been very disappointing in every other week. However, he gets the benefit of facing the Washington football team, who's been just more than willing to give up points to the tight end. They've currently allowed 5 touchdowns to tight ends so far in the season through 4 weeks. That's not great, I would say. So expect Higbee to find the end zone and bounce back and be a great fantasy play this week.
He better.
Can I just say something before we move
Sure.
on to the sits?
You can always say something.
Jacob, I'm sure you're going to concur with this, but I'm
Don't do it.
highly disappointed that you didn't pick Kenyon Drake as your start of the week. For running
Yeah, dude. What the heck? You
Oh,
said
dude.
you told me you were going to.
And maybe in the future, okay? We'll
No.
find.
It
Well,
was this
it's-
week. The third
it's
time the charm.
consistency
That's
that
how
mattered.
it would have worked.
Sure,
And now
sure.
you
It's
broke
gone.
You
I
broke
mean,
tradition.
I already traded him away. You guys know that. I probably have to
Misery
do it
loves
again.
company, Stefan. And
He
we're
lets you
sitting-
guys
We're
down,
sitting
so
pretty
why do
lonely
I
over
want to
here.
be let down?
Wow.
You're supposed to be with us. We're a team.
All right, let's
All
go to the sets.
Let's move on to the sits of the week. I'll lead us off here.
Thank you.
Quarterback sit of the week. My quarterback sit of the week is Derek Carr versus the Kansas City Chiefs. Kansas City defense is coming off back-to-back weeks of shutting down quarterbacks. I mean, I know they played Brian Hoyer and Jared Stidham last week, which shouldn't be too tough of a matchup, but they also shut down Lamar Jackson in week 3. Derek Carr's a lot of weapons banged up on his side. He's got Ruggs and Edwards banged up, and Darren Wall is also struggling with some of his own injuries.
It
So
was a full practice today. I just want to let you know that.
yeah, he hasn't shown enough.
But still.
Yeah. So I expect this is going to be a tough matchup for Derek Carr. They're going into Kansas City. So I think this is going to be a little bit of a disappointing week for Derek Carr. So don't look to stream him anywhere.
Sure.
Sure.
I got Baker Mayfield versus Indy. Baker hasn't surpassed 16 points in any of his games and half point this year. While he's grown a connection with OBJ and even picked up some good looks with Jarvis Landry last week, I expect him to have a very tough matchup against the Colts, who will presumably be putting on a ton of pressure on him.
Yeah, they will.
So OBJ has opened up some good opportunity for Baker when Baker scrambles, but a lot of times when Baker gets out of pocket, he makes some really tough and poor decisions. And I expect them to put him in that position this week as well.
And I'm just looking at it. The Colts are the number 1 defense against QBs.
Mhm.
They've only allowed 1 top 24 performance.
Wow.
Yeah, they've only allowed 5 passing
That was the first
touchdowns.
week in that ridiculous game that they lost that they shouldn't have lost. That upset against the Jaguars.
Right. Yeah, they've only allowed 5 passing touchdowns and had 7 interceptions this season so far.
Yeah, I
That's
mean,
pretty good. Maybe that's why Wildfield never throws the balls, because it's just pick city, you know.
if the Browns are trusting Jarvis Landry to throw touchdowns more than they are Baker Mayfield, so
And Jarvis Landry's doing it.
all right, Jacob, who's your quarterback sit of the week?
This one should come as no surprise if you've been listening
It's
to this
going to be
podcast
surprising.
at all, and it is Carson Wentz. He is playing against the Steelers.
But he won last week, remember? Oh, I forgot. When we talk about the Steelers, that's the end of the.
That's okay. Look, Carson Wentz, they're playing. They've been the Steelers have been the third best in the league against QBs. I'm not expecting that to change with an extra week of rest. I think they're going to come out. They're going to be pumped up, ready to go. And Carson Wentz, it sounds like his weapons that were going to come back aren't likely, and they're kind of up in the air as well. And it's just been a struggle. San Fran, I think that was an off game for them for sure with injuries and Mullins just not playing well. So I don't see too much happening from Carson Wentz. Thank you for making me talk so much about Carson Wentz.
Of course. I know you like to, so I wanted to give you the opportunity. Jacob, I'll let you continue on your rant here. Who is your running back sit of the week?
Well, you're not going to like it because you were talking this guy up.
Let's hear it.
It's Damian Harris.
How dare you?
Broncos run defense has been solid. They're top 3 in the league. They are number 3 in the league against running backs, and they've faced a couple of good guys out there.
Can you name them?
Yeah, I mean, I can name them if you really want me to.
If you
Name
need
them.
me to.
I can
Right.
go ahead and name them and
Please.
just tell you the names of the teams, and
Mhm.
then after I tell you those teams, I'll tell you the players.
They had a really tough matchup
Derrick
against Frank
Henry.
Gore last week, right?
Derrick Henry, James Conner,
Uh-huh.
and Ronald Jones / Fournette.
I
And then
think,
Frank
I think
Gore.
James Conner missed that week. But yeah, go ahead.
Oh, that might be true. And Benny Snell. Was that? No, that was the. Maybe. Anyways,
Continue.
Damian Harris just coming off. This isn't one of those teams. Ashton mentioned earlier that Bill Belichick, he mixes it up every week. Damian Harris did have 17 carries. I don't know. I just don't see that. I don't see that workload coming with all the touchdowns just for him. I don't think did he have a touchdown this past week?
Mm-mm.
Just a bunch of carries, and
100 yards.
there's not a lot in the passing. I think he caught one pass. I think James White, Rex Burkhead. There's just too much going on. And I know a lot of people probably ran to the waiver wires trying to get him, and he did have a good week, but I don't think it's going to be great against the Broncos defense that have been holding everybody down.
Fair enough. Ashton, who is your sit of the week at running back?
You all ready for this?
Probably not, but
I
I'm
don't know.
gonna say I
By the
am.
sound of that.
It's Melvin Gordon.
How dare you?
Whoa, shots fired. I know.
Matchup running backs. That's our same matchup.
Yeah, with Lindsey coming back, I think he's going to take a hit at some carries and take away receiving as well. And they're facing the Patriots, who haven't allowed a rushing touchdown since week 1 against opposing offenses. So that also includes games against the Seahawks with Chris Carson, the Raiders with Josh Jacobs, and the Chiefs with Clyde Edwards-Helaire. So they've been facing top 10 running backs and still not letting them in the end zone. And I think Melvin Gordon is going to have, while he's been doing very well, he's going to have a very tough matchup this week against the Pats and will be set back tremendously.
Hear you. My running back set of the week is Dearness Johnson versus the Colts. Like we said, this Colts defense is very, very good. And I gave you some points earlier about why, I'm a little bit worried about Dearness Johnson coming in. Like I said, he's only had 1 carry in the NFL before last week. So to put all your eggs in one basket based on his matchup with the very poor Cowboys defense seems like a stretch for me. So clearly Kareem Hunt's going to lead this backfield, and without, having that history of Dearness Johnson being good, it's too much for me to trust, and this matchup just isn't good. So even though you're excited you got him on the waiver wire, this isn't the week to start him, throwing him in your lineup.
Not the time
yet. Let's jump over to wide receivers. Wide receiver sit as of the week. I'll start us off. Mine is AJ Brown versus the Buffalo Bills. I know. We said that Buffalo Bills haven't been quite what they were on defense these last couple of years. But look, I mean, Tre'Davious White is still a very, very, very good cornerback, one of the best in the league. And AJ Brown is coming off an injury to his knee, which is a tough injury to recover from, especially as a wide receiver. You're doing a lot of pivots, you're doing a little cuts, everything like that. It's tough. It's tough on those knees. And this is already a game in question. We talked about it before. We don't even know if this game's going to be played. It's currently slated to be played, but this isn't 100% thing. So I'm looking to pivot if I have AJ Brown. Either one of you guys can jump in again. Happy to let you guys take the lead here.
I'll go ahead. I got my one. I think probably one of my spiciest takes of the week here.
Oh, spice.
And I like the guy, hate the team. Like the guy, hate the team. And it's scary Terry McLaurin. He's a little banged up, and I think what really scares me is Kyle Allen coming in hot here. I just don't know how that connection is going to be. And the Rams have been pretty good. I think they're like a top 5 defense against wide receivers. Jalen Ramsey's out there just platooning and dominating people and picking them up and starting fights with them at the end of the game.
Yeah, I'm surprised he wasn't suspended.
I know, that was crazy. It was a personal matter, so I guess they didn't care.
Yeah,
much.
you just gotta let it go. Yeah.
Yeah.
2020.
So it's no knock against Terry. It's just not a great matchup, and he was a little hobbled last week, and Kyle Allen. So there's just a few things working against him this week.
Fair enough. Ashton, what about you?
Julian Edelman.
Ooh.
He has been on the struggle bus for the past couple of weeks, especially since Cam's been out. It's just been, I mean, he looks like he's just waiting for Tom Brady to come through the tunnel and just say, I'm back, buddy. Here I am. He looks lost, man. And especially after that
Career game.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. He had a career high game with Cam, and then Cam gets taken out with COVID. And then he had a pass from Stidham last week that got deflected off of his hands and picked off for a pick 6. And Edelman just looked deflated, and he's been struggling. I expected more out of him, especially after his career high game, and he just doesn't look the same. And I've always been a fan of Edelman, but he just looks like he's struggling right now. I wouldn't put any trust in starting him this week.
Fair enough. I'll let you continue on, Ashton. Who is your tight end set of the week?
No shocker here. It's going to be Austin Hooper playing against the Colts. Obviously, Colts, tough defense. He had his best game of the season against Dallas, the Dallas Cowboys.
Well, I'm sick of this. Can we just say his previous opponent?
No. Well, I mean, I just like to be as detailed as possible. So
Right,
just say last game, man. Come on.
He
You're
had 5
turning the
catches.
knife.
He had 5 catches for 34 yards and a touchdown against the Cowboys on 7 targets. And with David Njoku returning from a knee injury, Hooper's target should be cut down and diminished. So I expect him to take a few steps back this week, which isn't saying too much because he wasn't that far ahead in the first place. So
he's falling off a cliff at this
so
point.
that chance for the touchdown is probably slim to none now. So plus the Colts have allowed the fewest fantasy points to tight ends this season.
We just hate people versus the Colts.
That's correct.
But to go back to that Cowboys game, I just don't want you guys to really.
I'll go ahead and hop in with my next guy here. So Mike Gesicki. I'm going with the number 2 best defense with the 49ers. They're ranked right behind the Colts. I mean, they've allowed one top 15 performance this year, and it's just
welcome to it, Stefen.
I don't know what just happened to me, but basically, it's not a good matchup. There's been some struggles with Fitzpatrick and interceptions, and I think Devontae Parker's the only one I can trust in that game this week. And the 49ers, they don't want the tight ends to do well. So that's just how it's going to be.
Yeah, I feel like we've had Austin Hooper as one of our sits of the week every week so far,
And he's also been
and it's been great.
has been the most accurate pick we've had all season. So
We didn't do him last week, and he had a good week. So
There we go. Look at us. Efficiency. My tight end sit of the week is the same one as last week. I'm going back to back with
Oh my
Valley
gosh.
Cox versus the Cleveland Browns. I feel I feel good about sitting him last week. I mean, he got in the end zone, but it was his only catch. You know, it was one catch for 13 yards and a touchdown. So
that's all he's good for.
I'm not mad about that. So for me, like, I think my hunch was correct. Now that Jack Doyle and Trey Burton are back in action, it seems like Mo Alley Cox has taken the backseat to both. He's only ran 7 routes last week and in week 3. And 7 routes just isn't going to get it done as a fantasy tight end. You have to be hyper efficient in order to make that work out. So I don't believe what he's doing in terms of finding the end zone is sustainable. Therefore, he will continue to be my sit of the week until he runs more than 7 routes.
I bet he has a touchdown. I bet he has another touchdown this week.
two touchdowns.
One reception, 4 yards, touchdown. That's all I need.
And Kenyon Drake's going to go off this week too. So
This is Kenyon Drake's week now that we're not starting it.
your loss, Stefen. That was your loss.
It's true. We're mad
All
at
right,
you.
guys. Well, if you guys don't have anything else to add, do you have anything else to add? First off,
I just found out that Dwayne Haskins tweeted that his dog was it his dog? Yeah, his dog passed away.
oh man, what a terrible week
so-
this guy's
so
having.
he-
Worst week
He
ever.
loses his job.
He's not
then
even
his,
the backup.
Then his dog passes away. Yeah.
Jeez.
The
Did you
guy
hear
that
he's not even the backup.
No,
Nick
yeah.
Smith is
Alex
the
Smith.
backup, and they
Yeah.
put him all the way to the back.
Wow, tough week for the guy. Sorry to Dwayne Haskins for losing his job and his dog. It's a tough week for anybody.
R.I.P. Nipsey.
Of course.
Sorry, Nipsey.
All right, guys. Well, as always, make sure to find us on all of our socials. We're on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Our podcast is also available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and YouTube. So make sure to give us a listen, a download, and a like. But if you guys don't have anything else, we will say goodbye.
Goodbye.